This morning, I took that little bull calf to the vet, got him steered, got him another shot of Covexin 8. Then I got him put back on the lease property. And right now I'm sitting here. I got an M1 right here. I got this M1, and then I got this neat little Armalite AR-10. And I was sitting here thinking about, how do I want to put these guns together, right? I was talking about getting a scope mount for the M1. I have a scope mount for the M1 somewhere, but I don't know where I put it, and so I'll probably have to buy another one. And I don't really want to put a real heavy scope on it because the M1 is already very heavy, and so... But then again, it's like, I don't really not want to put a scope on it, so I got to figure out how am I going to outfit this M1. I was thinking maybe I would put that LPVO on it. And that AR-10, I was thinking maybe I'd put something like or on the M1, I was thinking maybe I'd put like an ACOG on it, a 4 times magnification ACOG, something like that. And maybe on the AR-10, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with that. I could put something like a 1 times magnification, something nice on it. I'll figure it out. I was thinking about how do I want to set up these rifles. And so this morning, I got the animal squared away. So here so I actually realized today that I kind of I made a mistake when when it comes to planning. Okay, so right now it's the end of April, and soon here in 11 days or so, it'll be the beginning of May. And if I think about May, all of May and all of June, 2 months after the beginning of May, it will be July. And my whole thing about this situation right now is that for whatever reason, I thought that 2 months after May, it would be the beginning of June, which is not, right? June is right after May. It's May, June, July. And I was, for whatever reason, I was sitting here thinking about it. I was sitting there thinking about it. And up until today, I didn't even realize that, the scheduling is incorrect. Because it's May, June, July, and so if I if I take the animals to the lease property on the beginning of May, if I liquidate my animals on that first Monday in May, then I put the new animals on the lease property. Within 2 months, it will be the beginning of July, and that's not that's not good, right? The whole thing about the situation right now with the lease property is that the lease property does not have any access to clean to just straight up clean water like city water or groundwater. There's only a pond over there, and the big thing about the pond is actually when I was over there taking a look at the pond is already starting to turn kind of nasty. And I was talking about pond water. The big downside of pond water is that when it starts getting even a little bit hot outside, like right now it's 80, 85 degrees, the animals will start swimming in the water. The animals will actually go into the water to cool themselves off, and it will turn the water nasty very fast. And so the water's already turning nasty, but I have rain coming in. As long as I get about 2 inches of rain, it will clean that water up. As long as, I'll need about 2 inches of rain, and the rain chance is about 45-50%. But if it doesn't rain this week, and if it doesn't rain next week, then I would actually have to liquidate the animals because I don't have any water over there, or I would have to bring them over here. So the big problem with pond water is when it starts getting a little bit warm outside, the animals will go into the water, okay? That's the big problem. And when they go into the water, they'll kick up a bunch of dirt. The animals will poop and pee in it. They'll, the animals themselves have a lot of dirt on them and gunk on them. And when they go in the water, all that stuff will just sit in the water and it'll turn the water nasty. And the animals can't be out there drinking nasty water. So right now, I got a couple of, the whole thing about the situation right now is that within probably by the middle of June or so, I would anticipate that it starts going over 95 degrees, and the rain effectively just stops coming. I mean, effectively, I probably will not have any rain. I may have very minimal rain, But even if I have a minimal amount of rain, it's just going to be so hot outside that the pond water is going to turn nasty if I have animals out there. And so I won't be able to have the animals out there, probably starting by about the middle of June. So I've actually decided, I've taken a look at everything, and I messed up the scheduling. And so I've taken a look at everything. And when I take a look at my field here right now, I actually have the four animals. I got that one heifer calf that I brought in about a month ago. I brought her in about a month ago, and she weighed 500. And here in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be taking she's not that large of a frame of an animal, and she will probably hit the scale at about 650, 700 within about 3 or 4 weeks. Something around 650 is what I would anticipate. And so I may just as well liquidate her too, because the thing about a heifer is that from what I have seen, you don't really want to, in terms of the price per pound, you'll do the best at about 700. That's just from what I have personally seen. When you take a heifer animal from 700 to 800 pounds, the price per pound drops pretty fast. Usually it'll drop by like 20-30 cents a pound. And so, I figured it'd be better for me to take her to the sale barn at 650 than at 750. And so in 3 weeks, she'll probably be about 650, okay? She'll probably be about 650, and I can take her with the other three animals. And those four animals combined will probably bring home about $7,500, $8,000. And right now, I actually have about when I take a look at it, I have about a 3,400 bucks right now as of right this moment too. And so when I take a look at it, the whole situation is that I will probably end up keeping the rest of the animals for another month, maybe even 2 months. And the animals on the lease property, I will have to gauge it according to the water, right? The water quality is the biggest issue. If it starts getting hot and the rain kind of just turns off for a couple of weeks, the water gets nasty real fast. And so when I take a look at it, right now I have about $3,400 on me. I have about $3,400 right now. I have four animals that effectively need to go to the sale barn ASAP. At any point, if I ever need money, they're ready to go to the sale barn. Three of them are ready to go to the sale barn, and one of them will be ready to go to the sale barn here in about 3 weeks. And when I sell those animals, I will probably make about $7,500, $8,000. So I'll effectively have about $11,000, $12,000. Okay. So the big idea right now is that what I will probably end up doing is I will sell those four cattle, and then I will put my money into, and then I will buy a load of grain, and I will probably I will sell four animals, and I'll probably buy somewhere around eight animals. So I'll sell four, I'll buy eight, and I'll buy a load of grain, and then that's probably what I'm gonna do. And here's the thing about the earnings and everything, and in terms of money, what's going on. Within the next 3 months or so, within the next 3 months, I will have effectively my cattle business, over the next about 2.5 months, will have made well over $100,000. And so here's a realistic way to look at it. When I sell these 45 cattle, okay, so last month I sold however many cattle. I believe I sold 7 or 8, or 6 or 7 or something like that. And then the month before that, I sold another 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. I've been selling about an average of 7 animals a month is what I write, 7 or 8 animals a month. And I have 45 animals right now, and they'll effectively all be going to the sale barn probably by the third week or so of June. All right, before it starts getting real hot, I'll take the animals to the sale barn, and that effectively gives me about another month and a half with the animals on the lease property. And then the animals here, okay, so here's the thing. When I sell these calves, All right, when I sell these cattle, these yearlings, and I have the money that I have on me right now, I will effectively be able to buy enough supplies to keep my business running, and I'll actually be able to expand the size of my herd by about 4 animals too, okay? I'll be able to expand the size of my herd by about 4 animals, and I will be able to buy enough supplies to keep my business running up until effectively the middle of June or so, when I would anticipate that I need to liquidate a large number of cattle. So the big idea right now is I'm not going to liquidate any animals, and I anticipate that I will have to liquidate a large sum of animals, a large number of animals by about the middle of June. And when I liquidate the animals that I liquidate right now, I will effectively make enough money to keep my business running until the middle of June. Maybe even, and I will push it as far as long as I can, until the water starts turning nasty. I will effectively just keep the animals and keep them getting bigger. And when I liquidate those animals, effectively within about the next 3 months, maybe 4 months, I will effectively have made my business will have made over $100,000. And so the way, a reasonable way to look at this is when I sell the 45 calves that I have right now. These animals in the front yard that I brought home, the 10 of them, 8 of them are effectively about 4.25 when I brought them in. 2 of them are at about 275, and the average on them was 390 for the 10 of them. 2 of them were under 300. One of them was 275 and one was 295, and then the rest of them were between 400 and 450. And so when I take a look at the whole situation, those 10 animals in the front will 8 out of the 10 animals in the front yard will also probably be going to the sell barn here within 3 more months. All right, within 3 more months, and it might even be 2.5. I'll have to, I'll keep an eye on them and see how they're doing, and see how well they fatten up. And okay, so within about 3 months, my business will have made over 100 grand. And so the way that another way to look at this is when I sell my 45 cattle, I will probably make enough. Okay, I would reasonably anticipate that when I liquidate my 45 cattle, and then when I just stick to the business plan, I will effectively make enough money to buy roughly 80 cattle. When I sell the 45, I will probably be able to buy somewhere between 75 and 80 cattle. I will have enough money to buy about 3 loads of grain, and but I may not even be buying fertilizer, in July and August. Okay, I may not even buy. I probably won't. All right, I probably won't buy any fertilizer in July and August because it will be too hot. And so the big problem, and also another big issue that I'm running into, is that I will probably shrink my balance sheet. I will probably shrink the number of animals that I have in July because I will not have access to that leased property. All right, that leased property, the water is going to be a major limiting factor for the animals on that leased property. And so I probably will not have any animals on that leased property at all in July and August, okay? And so when I take a look at it, I will probably have to shrink my balance sheet in July and August, and then by about September, I will take a look at what my animals look like here. The animals that I have here, I will take a look at what they look like, and then I will take them over to the leased property. All right, I will take probably 15 or 20 calves over to the leased property when it starts getting cool and when I start getting some rain. And so I'm taking a look at the whole thing. Within about 3 months, I would reasonably anticipate that my business has made over $100,000. And a way to look at that is I will be selling 45 cattle. When I sell those 45 cattle, I will make enough money to buy 75 or 80. I could buy 4 loads of grain. I probably won't buy any fertilizer, and I probably won't buy any fertilizer. And then, and that's how much money I will make. All right, I'll make enough money to buy 75, 80 cattle, and I will make enough money to buy 4 loads of grain, which would keep me rolling through the summer months. And the hay that I harvest on the lease property, I can also feed that hay if necessary, or I can sell it for a small profit, or as much of a profit as I can, and then just take the money and buy grain. But if I cannot sell it, I will just mix it into a total mixed ration and just feed it to my animals. Okay, and so you know. I will be making my business will have made over $100,000 here very soon, and my earnings are compounding upwards. Okay, my earnings are compounding upwards. When I take a look at it, all right. How it's realistically probably going to look is that the 19 animals that I have, I will probably liquidate those 19 animals here by the middle of June. I will liquidate the 19 animals, or excuse me, I will liquidate 4 animals probably within the next month, and then another 15 animals will get liquidated within the next 2 months, and then the remainder of the 45, the 20 animals. Would it be 20? No, it'd be 30, right? I have 30. I would have 27 animals left over. I would have 27 animals left over, and the rest of the 27 animals will probably be getting sold sometime between September, somewhere around August or September, something like that. And I got some bigger ones out there, something like that. Okay, I don't, something like that. I got a big old Charolais calf out there. He might be ready a little bit sooner. He might be ready to go at the same time that these 8 animals in the front yard are ready to go. And so, I got several big calves out there. They're already probably at 450, 500 pounds. Some of them might even be at 500. Well, that Charolais calf might even be at 550. And so, but more or less, all of these animals will be getting sold within the next probably 3 months. But here's the thing: is that 19 out of the 45 calves will be getting sold in the next month and a half. Okay, 19 out of the 45 calves will be getting sold in the next 2 months. And when I sell those 19 calves, I will make enough money to buy like 32. Okay, I'll probably make enough money to buy 32, 34, something like that. It might even be a little bit more, because these animals are gonna hit the scale pretty hard. If I take them, if I keep them for another month and a half, then they're on that grass out there. They're gonna hit the scales pretty hard. So they might even hit the scales at borderline 750, 800 on the average. And so when I sell the 19 calves, I may actually make enough money to buy like 38 calves. I may be able to buy 35 calves and and a load of grain. But right now, the thing is that the 4 animals that I have here, when I sell the 4 animals that I have here, I'll be able to buy a load of grain, and I'll be able to buy 8 calves. Okay, I'll be able to buy 8 calves and a load of grain, and so that's 2 loads of grain, and I'd be net positive. I don't even know. You know, 20 cattle. I'd be net positive 20 cattle. But the thing is that I don't have facilities to run 20 more cattle. I'm effectively topped out right now. I effectively cannot run any more cattle with the facilities that I have. And so the big idea right now is to actually just leverage myself for a new piece of land. The big idea is to leverage myself for a new piece of land. And that would put me in a good spot, because if I take the money that I have right now, that I anticipate, the money that I will be making over the next 2 months, if I take that money and I just pay off my debts, that will leave me with 26 animals, and except effectively I will not have any debt. Okay, my balance sheet, I'll effectively have zero debt. I'll be in the net positive, and et cetera, et cetera. And the 26 animals, I could leverage against the 26, but the 10 animals that I have out there, they've already been purchased via a loan. So I could purchase maybe 16 more on credit. I could stabilize the animals, And then when the animals are stabilized, I will be able to sell the 26 animals. I will have 16 animals that are stabilized here. And then when I sell the 26 animals, right, I can whatever, I can buy whatever. I'll have enough money to buy when I sell the 26, I'll probably have enough money to buy about a 48 or something like that, a 45, 48. They're gonna hit the scales pretty hard. I'll be able to buy a large amount of grain. I'm effectively looking at purchasing about 4 loads of grain over the next several months, and that will be more than enough feed. And 2 loads of grain will be covered from 1 load of grain will be covered from my animals getting sold here. Another load of grain will be getting covered. I could even cover 2 loads of grain by selling the 15 animals that I have on the lease property. And I have all of that hay on the lease property that I can harvest. And if I make a small profit on that harvest, I can pay for another load of grain, or I can just mix the hay with a ration into a ration and feed it to the animals and make money that way instead. So I'm effectively looking into purchasing about 4 loads of grain over the next which may be too much. It might be too much. The animals. If I'm going to shrink my balance sheet down to 26 animals, I'll effectively be at capacity. Maybe I could squeeze another 4 animals in, but I would effectively be at capacity. I would have, my balance sheet would be very drastically in the net positive. I would not owe any money, and then I could leverage for a new piece of land, and then I could the big idea would be to when I let's say I have a loan for 16 animals, so I have 26 animals, and I go and I take a loan for 16 more. That puts me at 42. The 26 animals that I have would be getting liquidated relatively soon, right? And then when I stabilize the 16 animals, the 26 animals will be ready to get sold, and then when they get sold, I will make profit, right? And then I can reinvest the profit and leverage against it. Knowledgeably take a look at it and leverage against it. And then now I would be in a situation where I have where I could buy the new field. I would have a new field. I would have more cattle, and then I would effectively be ready to roll forward, right? And so, but that's the big idea right now, is that I messed up the scheduling, and it made things a little bit confusing. And I got a lot of things on my plate right now. I got a lot of things that need to happen. I got a lot of things I need to work towards. There are goals and objectives that need to be reached. Okay, the whole thing about planning is to have goals and objectives, right? Over the next 2 months, I anticipate that I will sell 19 cattle. The 19 cattle will hit the scale at somewhere between 700 and 800 pounds. When they hit the scale at 700 to 800 pounds, I anticipate that I will make this much money. And when I go and I buy animals, I will buy animals at this weight. And when I purchase animals at this weight and I sell them at that weight, this is how many of the small animals that I can buy. And I would also anticipate that I need grain because of the weather, right? I probably won't have any grass by about the middle of June, end of June. So I will need to start purchasing grain, right? And so it's a very straightforward plan. Okay, it's a very straightforward plan. And when I take a look at the numbers, my business will I will have made over $100,000 in my business over the next 3 months. And that's the whole thing about my situation, is like right now I got a $3,400 cash. I don't feel the need to have any more cash. All right, I don't feel the need to have any more cash. I don't feel like I need any more cash. There's no reason for me to have more cash. And I know, and I'm not saying, and okay, but I have $3,400, and I don't feel the need to have any more cash. Okay, within the next 3 weeks. Within the next 3 weeks, I'll be selling 3 or 4 cattle. I'll probably make another $8,000. And if I legitimately need more money, right? If I legitimately need more money, I can just sell 1 or 2 of my animals, all right? I have animals on that lease property that weigh probably 650 already. All right, and in 3 weeks they'll probably weigh 700. All right, and maybe, maybe even a little bit more. And so if I legitimately feel like, oh my God, I need more money, I can just go and sell one of my 725, 750 pound cattle. But that's how I do it. And the reason that I do it this way is because why, right? Because if I make my money via cash, if I sit here with cash, if I make cash, then I will have to pay taxes on it, okay? If I take that cash and I purchase a tax deductible asset, then I don't have to pay taxes on that money. All right, legally. All right, and I've spoken about this. I'm not the only person that has access to this whole situation. It's not just me, right? I mean, if you want to, if anybody, if you live in America and you decided that you were going to, let's say that you make an income of $50,000 a year, and you go and you talk to your, let's say that you make $50,000 a year, and you go to the bank and you take a loan for 50 grand, and you talk to your accountant about it, and you find an asset that you believe is tax deductible, whatever it may be, cattle feed, fertilizer, rental property, whatever it may be, and you talk to your accountant about it, and your accountant says, yeah, if you go and you purchase this asset, you will get a tax deduction. If you felt like it, you could go to the bank right now, take a loan for 50 grand, right? If you make $50,000 a year, anybody, as long as you live in America, and this is legal, all right? I'm not giving you illegal information. This is not illegal, okay? This is completely legal stuff. Go and talk to your accountant about it. And and I've already said I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just giving you the best information that I can, okay? If you purchase tax deductible assets, then you do not have to pay taxes on your income, okay? That's how the system works. And I've talked about this in terms of a broader sense. Income tax and taxes on your income are not there to punish people, right? Taxes are not a punishment. You have to understand this. Taxes are not a punishment. Taxes are an encouragement for you to invest your money. That it's effectively a way of saying, if you don't invest your money, we are going to take your money, and then the government will effectively invest your money for you, right? Effectively, all right, more or less, all right. That's what taxes are, in terms of like a simplistic way of looking at it. Okay, the government will take your money from you and then invest it, all right, into whatever government program. Okay, so taxes are effectively an encouragement for you to invest your money and to not sit there with your money and just fiddle fart around. Okay. And it's not illegal, all right? It's not illegal. Go and talk to your accountant about it. I am not telling you to go and do something illegal. I'm telling you, find an asset. If it's tax deductible, how do you figure that out? Talk to your accountant about it. Your accountant will know, okay? Your accountant will know. Go and talk to an accountant about it. And but if you wanted to go out, if you made $50,000 this year and you took a loan from the bank for 50 grand and you invested all 50 grand into a tax deductible assets, you wouldn't pay any income, or you wouldn't pay any taxes on your $50,000 of income. Okay, you wouldn't pay any. And taxes are pretty substantial. Okay, they're like a 25%. All right, if you make $50,000 a year, you'll probably pay 20% of that. If you don't have any tax write-offs, you'll probably end up paying like 20% of that in taxes. All right, maybe 15% or something like that in taxes. And depending on what state you live in, your taxes may be higher or less. Go and talk to your accountant about it, okay? And so, but that's the reason that I do that. I convert all of my money back into my assets. I convert all of my money into tax deductible assets. And these assets are an asset that I understand. I fundamentally understand the asset, like cattle feed, right? That's an asset. Cattle are an asset. Fertilizer is an asset, right? I convert my money into these various assets. And the reason that I do that is because I get a tax deduction and I can knowledgeably appreciate that asset. And it's all the same thing. All right. It's all the same thing. Okay. It's all the same thing. If you have an 800-pound number one type commodity steer, you effectively have, whatever you. If you have an 800-pound commodity steer number one, I mean, you effectively have $2.80 times 800. All right, that's how much money you have. All right, you effectively have like $2,200. It's the exact same thing. Okay, it's all the same thing. Granted that you have the right asset, you've appraised your asset properly. If you have, that's another way to look at it. If you have a tonnage of corn, if you have 2,000 pounds of corn, and you call your local whatever you call your local grain mill, and and corn, they'll, whatever, you can offload your grain at the grain mill for whatever, $180 a ton. Then your one tonnage of corn is effectively worth $180. Okay, it's the same thing. Your one tonnage of corn is worth is effectively just like you having $180. If you have an 800-pound commodity steer, number one, properly conditioned, raised to a commercial standard, and you have that animal is effectively worth whatever 2.8 times 800, right? The feeder cattle market sitting at about 280, 285, something like that. You take the feeder cattle number and you multiply the weight, if the animal weighs 800 pounds, and that's effectively, it's all the same thing. Okay, it's all the same thing. If I have 100 cattle, if I have 75 cattle, and those 75 cattle weigh 800 pounds, then I effectively have $160,000 cash. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. But the reason that you do this is because you get legal tax write-offs when you purchase tax deductible assets. And cattle are not the only tax deductible asset. All right, you can purchase real estate. You can purchase. There are assets all over the place. If you start a business and you purchase assets for your business and they're legitimate assets, then you can write them off on your taxes. Okay, and talk to your accountant about it. And and it's also important to understand that taxes are effectively like 20, if you make $50,000 a year, and if you live in somewhere like New York or California, if you have a higher taxes, your state taxes, et cetera, then you may even be paying more. Like in Texas, we don't have a state income tax, and so but we do have a sales tax, right? And so but as a farmer in Texas, you don't have to pay any sales tax on farm goods. So I got an exemption for that as well. And so, but this is all legal stuff. I'm not evading taxes. Okay, I'm not evading taxes. I'm not telling you how to evade taxes. I'm not encouraging you to evade taxes. All right, if you're not going to invest your money, then you'll have to pay taxes. Okay, and the best thing to invest in is a very good quality asset, something that has a large amount of money in it, and it is tax deductible, and it is something that you understand. Okay. But that's the reason that I do that. I have 3,400 cash right now. I have 3,400 cash. But here in 3 weeks, I have to sell. I have three animals that are effectively ready to go for market. I may have a fourth one there somewhere soon, sometime soon. I'll have a fourth one in there, and when I sell those four, I'll probably make whatever $7,500, $8,000. I put that together with my 3,500 bucks, 3,400 bucks. I effectively have about 11 grand, and if I have 11 grand, I can buy one load of feed. I can buy a load of feed, and I can buy 8 calves. So I would be selling 4, buying 8, and I would be buying a load of grain. And then within 2 months, I'll be selling 19 animals. And when I sell those 19 animals, I will probably have to shrink my balance sheet. I will probably have to shrink my balance sheet because the weather will be turning very hot. It will get very hot, and I don't want to, and I won't have access to I won't have access to the lease property when it starts cooking outside. I won't have access to the lease property because the water will get nasty. But more or less effectively, it's all the same thing. All right. I can hold on to the money. I can pay the bank back. I will have the 26 animals. I can leverage against 16 of them. Now, I've already got a loan on 10 of them. And so that puts me in a situation where I now have 42 animals, 16 are stabilized, and then I liquidate the animals. And when I liquidate 26 animals, I still have 16 at home, and I liquidate the 26. I'll probably make enough money to buy 48. I could buy another load of grain, and et cetera, right? And then I can leverage against the earnings as well. I can leverage against the earnings as well. And when I do that, I'll effectively be able to purchase. I don't even know how many animals. Probably close to. I would anticipate that even if I slow myself down a little bit, to which I will probably have to just because of the weather, I will still probably end up with about 80 to 90 cattle in about 3 months. I will still probably end up doubling the size of my herd within the next 4 or 5 months, maybe even tripling the size of my herd within the next 4 or 5 months. And I'll effectively be leveraged 1-for-1 on the balance sheet. That's the big, just under 1-for-1. Okay, maybe like I'll be leveraged 70% to 1 on my balance sheet. So I'll be leveraged 0.7 to 1, and I'll have probably somewhere between 80 and 120 cattle. And effectively, if I have 80 cattle, then 55 will belong to me, and if I have 120, then or if I have 80 cattle, then 45 or so will belong to me. 50 will belong to me, and if I have 120, then effectively whatever 70 of them will probably belong to me. Okay, and then I'll owe the bank 50. But then you also have to remember that some of the animals, well, I don't buy all of my animals at the same time. You have to remember that the big idea is that I have a stabilized herd, and the reason that I have a stabilized herd is because those animals are effectively going to produce me a return. They're not at risk. I'm not at high risk for those animals, and so those animals will produce me a return for the foreseeable future, 3 or 4 months, 2 or 3 months, and during that time period, I can invest the capital that I do have, and the capital and also the leverage, right? And also the leverage, and the reason that I would do that is for tax benefits, and I can increase my income. All right, I get tax benefits, and I can increase my income. All right, and so the big idea would be I have a stabilized herd. They're going to be profitable for 2 or 3 months. During that 2 or 3 month time window, I would reinvest the money that I have left, right? The 26 animals that I sell will make me money. I can go and reinvest that 26 animals worth of money that I sold, probably buy myself 48 animals and a load of grain. And when I take a look at that, I will take a look at how much money I made. And instead of buying 48 animals, maybe I buy 90, right? Instead of buying 48 animals, maybe I buy 80. And if I buy 80, I will owe the bank 32 animals worth of money. I will have, and then I will owe the bank, technically I would owe the bank 42 animals worth of money, right? And so, because I have a loan on the 10 animals already. But more or less, I will end up in a situation where the balance sheet is under a 1-to-1 leverage. It will probably be somewhere around 75% leveraged. I'll be 75% leveraged, and 75% of my balance sheet will be leveraged, and and some of the animals will be heavier, some of the animals will be stabilized, some of the animals will be at higher risk. But if I have 100 animals, within the 3 or 4 months, if I have and if it takes a long time, 4 or 5, somewhere in that time window, if I have 100 animals, right? And let's say that I owe the bank. Let's say I have 100 animals, and let's say I have 120 animals, and I owe the bank back 50. Those 120 animals, when I raise the animals, for the rest of the year, I'll effectively, I will effectively make enough money to whatever, right? And I'll make money on them, and the whole thing about me putting money in the animals, I would anticipate that, okay. So the whole thing about putting, I've talked about this, the whole thing about putting money in animals is that, let's say that I go and I purchase an animal. Let's say I sell one of my animals and I buy 2 animals, right? I sell one animal at 800 pounds and I buy 2 animals at 250 pounds. And when I do that, I sell a number 1 type commodity steer. raised to a commercial standard, and I get the feeder cattle price for them. And when I purchase the two animals, I purchase two number one type animals at 250 pounds, commodity type animals. And and that's essentially what I did. When I buy animals, granted that I appraise the animals properly, right? Granted that I appraise the animals properly and I buy the right type of animal for the right amount of money, I'm not spending any money, because if I legitimately wanted my money back, I could just sell the animal. All right, if I was like, oh my God, I don't have cash, and so then I don't have money. Oh my God, if I don't have cash, then I don't have money. Then I can just sell my two animals, right? I can just sell the two animals, and I will get my money back. So, and this is something that I talk about all the time. When you invest money, you're not spending money. You're trading your money for something that is equally as valuable as the money. And if you legitimately want your money back, you can just liquidate your asset. That's the whole idea. Your asset is equitable because it's not just valuable to you or to Billy Joe Bob. It is valuable to everybody. And the value of that asset is the appraisal value. And the appraisal value is done by a professional, okay? Somebody who knows what they're doing. All right, that's the value of your asset. Okay, and so when you go and you buy an asset, the whole idea is that you're not spending money. You're trading your money for that asset, and if you legitimately want your money back, you can just sell your asset. All right, and you should be getting your money back if you appraised it properly and sold it at market value. All right, and purchased it at market value. So the money, it's whatever, right? It's whatever. I mean, the money is just whatever. By the money, it's all the same thing. It's all money, okay? Whether you have cattle, grain, fertilizer, real estate. I mean, there are all sorts of assets everywhere. It's not just cattle, and it's not just land, and it's not just grain, and it's not just fertilizer. It doesn't matter what asset you have. You can buy any asset. All right, granted that you have a legitimate asset and it will be worth money, okay? And it's all the same thing, all right? Cash is the most ridiculous way to have money. If I legitimately felt like I needed more cash, and here's the thing, I have $3,500 right now, and I have animals that are ready to go at any time. If I legitimately need money, I can just go and sell, one, two, or three of my animals, and I can put however much money I need into my bank account. But what am I going to spend $3,500 cash on, right? What am I going to spend $3,500 cash on? There is nothing for me to buy. What am I going to go and buy for $3,500 right now, right? Nothing. I mean, there's nothing to buy, all right? I mean, I have enough money to not worry about money. I have $3,500 in my bank account, and I'm not worried about it. Here in 3 or 4 weeks, not even 3 or 4 weeks, here in about 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be selling 3 or 4 animals, all right, and I'll probably make another $7,500, $8,000, and I'm not even going to hold on to that cash. I will reinvest that money back into my business immediately. I will probably, what will probably end up happening is I will sell 4 animals, I will buy 8 animals, and I will buy a load of grain, all right? And I may even buy a load of fertilizer. I may even have enough money to buy a load of fertilizer, all right? A load of fertilizer is about $1,200. But I may not even need it. It might be getting too hot. And so my grass is already going to grain. So if it's going to grain, it's not going to grow anymore anyway. So, but that's the big idea, okay? It's all the same thing, all right? You don't want to be in a situation where you see cash is the only way to have money. Cash is the most ridiculous way to have money. It gets taxed the worst, and it doesn't do anything. All right, if you have $3,500 today, in 10 years you will have $3,500, okay? And the value of your dollar will have probably gone down. And I talk about this. If you're paying $1, people are paying $1 for a can of Coca-Cola today. You'll probably be paying $1.50 in 10 years, something like that, okay? The price of things is probably going to go up. You cannot print assets. I talk about all these various things, right? You cannot print assets. You can't print money. That's kind of the pitfall of the economy. The price of good assets are probably going to continue to go up in dollar figures. and the purchasing power of the dollar is probably going to go downwards. All right, probably will. That's the long-term projection. Okay, and so the big idea of everything is cash is not a good investment. All right, I have $3,500 cash on me right now. I make about $25,000 a month. Over the next 3 months, I will, my business will far exceed 100 grand. I may even go past 140 grand. I'll be selling 45 animals, and I'll be selling 45 animals, and I've already sold about 15, 20 animals this year. And I'll be selling another 45 in the next 3 months. And I may even make whatever, like whatever, I'm averaging about $20,000 a month, something like that. $20,000 a month. My income is actually going upwards, and the whole thing, and everything. I've already decided to reinvest all of my earnings back into my business. I've already decided that is what I will do. But if I legitimately felt like I needed more cash, I can just sell one or two of my investments. But cash is not a good investment, okay? It's not a good investment. Should you be cash poor? No, not really. You should probably not be cash poor. All right. If I have $3,500 cash and I have enough money to I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about anything. If I go to the grocery store, I can buy whatever I want. If I go out to Academy, if I go shopping somewhere, if I go out somewhere, I can buy whatever I want. All right, I can buy whatever I want. I'm not struggling for money. And in all honesty, here in about 3 weeks, I will probably make about, I will be selling 3 or 4 animals, and then another month or two after that, maybe another month and a half after that, or month after that, I'll be selling 19 animals, and then et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I will be making, I will have made over probably $120,000. My business will have made over $120,000 in about the next roughly about 3 months. All right, that would mean that my business averaged maybe about $17,000 a month, something like that. But my income is actually going upwards. Okay, my income is actually going upwards. I would actually say that I doubled to triple the size of my balance sheet. By the end of the year, I may even triple my balance sheet. And my balance sheet right now is effectively producing me about $17,000 a month. And that effectively means by the end of the year, if I triple the size of my balance sheet, and I've already, I've even gone into great detail on this video on how I will stably do that. Tripling the size of my balance sheet would effectively take my income up to about $50,000 a month. And but I may even go a little bit higher than that. But depends on the real estate, on the whole real estate situation, and what's going on with the real estate. There are other factors into it, and so you know, but I'll probably end up just about tripling the size of my balance sheet by the end of the year, and I may and then I'll take a look at it from there, and maybe even do a little bit more. But I don't worry about money. I have plenty of money. Cash is not a good investment. Okay, you do want to have cash. Like me, I have $3,400 right now, and I'm not worried about it. If I legitimately felt like I needed cash, I can just liquidate one or two of my assets. And the reason that I do that, the reason that I hold on to assets and I do not hold on to cash is because my assets are tax deductible and I can knowledgeably appreciate those assets. Okay, and that's it for me today, YouTube. You have a good one.